Hello guys, I'm back from another video on the themes about what if Belle was from Terraria. So in the last video we talked about how after after arriving at the large city, or should I say village, in the dungeon, they would basically set up their camp, and so they would basically begin just mostly doing shifts of taking care of the village. So, as it's finally Belle's and, Lily's turn, they would arrive, but they would also see a few members of the local guild. Specifically, one arrogant little bitch over there, which he keeps saying that he's one of the best and nobody's going to beat him, especially if it comes to, Belle, which he supposedly heard that, he's quite powerful, but after seeing him, he would basically just laugh it off, saying that he's pretty weak. And let's just say, oh boy, Izuku was not Izuku, I meant Belle. Belle was not really happy about that, so just imagine him just using Conqueror's Hockey. Yeah, he would basically, make them faint faster than he can say, go fuck yourself. So, after doing that, Belle would basically start to leave with Lily, as they would basically start off, their little shift. After about, a few hours, they would basically get back to their, makeshift camp, which is just a cabin which he made. All two of them, or at least both of them, would basically fall asleep. After doing that, Belle and also, Miss Cutesy over there, aka Lily, would basically, go back to work, as both of them are basically, doing their job. They would basically be told that it's finally time for them to basically fight. More specifically, Belle and also, the guy which he kind of beamed down, aka, Mr. Axe Face over there with the axe. So after a bit of, insulting him and also beating him to the ground, he would basically be flown all the way back, almost similar to, Team Rocket. So after doing that, Belle was pretty much celebrated in the village, because apparently the guy sort of, fricked any woman that he sees. Especially if it comes, to any daughters, or at least any beautiful daughters of, many of the villagers, which they were pretty much pissed off at. Especially if the, guy decides to go for, somebody's wife. So, yeah. After doing that, Belle would basically just rest up, as he would basically be alerted. Apparently, there was a large attack thanks to the help of these weird-looking monsters. Apparently, these monsters, when described, were two floating eyes that shoot out lasers and green fire. Another that seems to be a skeleton, but without, the other parts besides, 4 arms and just the skull. And they seem to be encased in metal, and a weird-looking, a weird-looking worm-like creature with, the ability to spawn out these weird, eye things that shoot out lasers, and also seems to be covered in metal as well. After hearing this, you would realize that those were the twins, Skeletron Prime, and finally the Destroyer. After defeating them and getting the treasure bags and getting some of the loot from them, Belle would basically tell them, that he's kind of done, and so all of them would basically, celebrate knowing that their village is safe, and so, Belle and also, Lily would basically start to leave. But when they left, they would basically, see the, church, or at least their brand new home, and would notice, a certain, a certain brand new character. In this case, Vita, aka the Dryad. So, after introducing herself and saying that she's a, that she wants to join her, the Hestia Familia, Belle would, actually let her join. And so, all of them would celebrate, and so, all of them would basically fall asleep. So, yeah, so, that is basically what happened last episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, a few months have gone by ever since, Vita has joined the party. She has a similar ability to just like in game, where she's able to create a large barrier that damages, nearby mobs. Which, she can also, literally summons in, I think it was called the... She's also able to summon the Blade of Grass, which, if you don't know, was actually my favorite weapon before, the new updates. Which, by the way, fun fact, back when I was still playing the game, I was originally called Grassblade, but my cousin, decided to give me the nickname Grass Balls. I mean, it's a stupid name, but back in the day, I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah, laugh it up. So, after, a while of basically killing some monsters, a few months had gone by, as, all three of them would be pretty much pretty well known in the, city of Terraria. And let's just say, a certain Haya bitches is currently, pretty asshole-ish now. And pretty much jealous of him basically, getting all the praise and glory. One day. So, as not Izuku, I meant Belle. As Belle, not Lumine, god damn it. I meant, as Belle, Lily, and also Vita are basically going into the hostess fertility, they would basically start ordering their food, as several people were basically, talking about how Belle and also, Lily and the brand new member Vita are pretty much dominating the dungeon, as a certain group of individuals, aka some members of the Apollo familia were basically hearing this. One of them basically steps up to the plate, as one of them, specifically a short stack over there, seems to be quite pissed off after hearing this, as he would basically look at Belle and basically, gets ready to throw, a bottle full of ale, as before he can actually throw it, a knife would be almost stuck to, almost right directly into his face, almost near his entire face, literally inches away to his face, but it only cut a bit of hair, which he was surprised at, and basically, left off his seat, including, the others, as Belle would say this, maybe next time try not to hurt anybody with that. I already know that you're planning on trying to hurt me, but maybe next time, try to be more discreet about it. As after, pulling out his vampire knives, he would basically put them back, almost disappearing. As he would say, whatever. It doesn't mean that you're stronger than us just because you're being all popular or whatever. In fact, I probably think you're just weak, and just pretending that you're strong. After hearing this, he would say, oh really? Do you want to think of that? And do you really want to actually think that I'm weak? As he would basically say, yeah, obviously, seriously, you joined the weakest familia, aka the Hestia familia, and you really think that as, before he can say anything else, let's just say, he would start to feel a little bit nauseous, as he would basically start falling onto the ground, including the other members of the, Apollo familia, including Haya's bitches. As Haya bitches is currently still, pretty much choking at this point, saying, what the hell? As Belle is basically now taking off his, I guess you could say, necklace, which is the cross one. As he would basically, look at Belle, as he's basically still holding on to, the cross, necklace. As he would say this, don't insult my goddess. Got it? As he seems to be focusing on, specifically, the guy there, and also Hyacinthus. Which, he's sort of looking at him, but he's mostly focusing on the midget over there. As he would basically, steps on his back, as you start, putting pressure on it, causing several ribs to basically be, torn asunder, as everybody can clearly hear it, and hear his screams. As, some, patrons at the bar would basically start to feel afraid, and some of them would say, well, he's basically fucked. It makes sense, after all, trying to insult a goddess, aka their goddess is equivalent to basically being executed. After, a while of basically doing that, he would basically, kick him right in the stomach, and basically throw him into the wall, as you'd say, now get out. As you would basically start telling, both, Vita and also, Lily, as he would basically start to leave, and plans on, putting in a pretty strong worded letter to, a certain Apollo, currently. So, after, sending that specific letter to Apollo's, familia, and after, Apollo hears about this, let's just say Apollo was not really happy. First of all, one of his, lieutenants decided to try and hurt one of his main objectives, aka Bell. What do I mean by this? Well, he was maybe, planning on making Bell one of his, members of his familia. And after hearing that, one of their members tried to attack him, let's just say he was quite pissed off and decided to, discipline him, let's just say that. So the other familia members of, the Apollo familia were pretty much terrified after hearing about, his punishment. Apparently, his punishment was to go into the dungeon all alone and not allowed to do anything else but stay in the dungeon and do a lot of missions. And let's just say, oh boy, the guy was pretty much battered and bruised. He was pretty much confident at the point where, he got punished by his own, by his own god. So yeah. So, currently with, Bell and also, Vida and technically, Hestia and also, you basically get it. The entire, Hestia familia is there. So, as they're basically, just eating and, basically having a bit of fun, he would basically hear the sound of knocking at the front door of the church. After, getting, going towards that specific area, specifically Bell would basically, open the door and sees a Apollo familia member, basically, shaking in his boots, as you'd say, we wanted to bring you this. We were ordered by, our master, Mr. Apollo, that we will bring you to a party. As after, hearing this, he would say, oh, really? As after grabbing, the letter and opening it up, he would see a letter, an invitation for a party between, other familias. So, after seeing this, he would basically ask, some of his, familia members, specifically Vida and also, Lily. Vida and Lily would basically decide to join, including Hestia, because she wants to see some of her, goddess friends. But there's also a reason why, Belle also wants to join. He wants to see, Hephaestus again. Because ever since he basically left to go to the dungeon, he was pretty anxious about, maybe going back with his, going back to his girlfriend and basically having a bit of fun with her. So, as all of them are basically, planning on basically going there, the guy would leave and basically tell all of them that they're gonna be arriving at about, maybe nighttime. Maybe before, before 6 a.m. So, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So, after being told of this, all of them would basically, think of an idea, and so they would basically decide to, make their, or at least get their, specific, clothing for this special occasion. Belle would decide to wear, a typical tuxedo from the actual game, with a leather jacket on top to basically finish the whole ensemble. As for the others, they're basically just wearing different types of dresses. For example, Hestia is wearing the typical white dress that she, wore that, I think she wore a white dress when she was at that specific part of the story, or am I wrong? I kind of forgotten. As for, Vida, she's basically wearing a greenish dress with several, floral patterns. And they seem to be, almost centering towards her, chest. As for, Lily, she's wearing a simple, red dress with a few, beautiful, intricate lines, which were, colored golden. As she seems to be wearing a hat. More specifically, just imagine this type of hat. Just imagine, something that just imagine, one of those, bowler hats, but except, with a much more larger rim, and it was red with a rose on top. So, as they're fully dressed, Belle would basically tell all of them that they should probably start going. So, as they're basically going, they would see a few, other things, let's just say that. For example, some other gods, including Hephaestus. As Hephaestus would say, Belle, you're back! As Belle would say this, oh, hello, it's been a while. As she's basically wearing the same, the same, red dress that she wore, when we first actually saw her, or at least the first actual appearance of her. She would say, "So, you actually look pretty dashing, Belle," as Bo would say this. "And you look as beautiful as ever, my lovely little, my lovely little Cyclops." As she'd say, "Oh, stop it." As they're basically, a bit of like, flirting, as one of the members of the, Hestia, not Hestia, I meant, the, Aphysis Familia would say this. "Yeah, they're certainly getting along," as one would say this. "Come on, let's just get our goddess to, have a bit of fun. After all, she never seen his, she never saw her boyfriend in a long time now." As he would say, "But still," as he would say, "come on, let's go." So, as these two, Aphysis Familia members basically leave, Hestia, Vida, and also Lily would basically start to leave, going into the house, or the mansion. As Belle would say this. "Oh, we should probably we should probably start to go now, right?" As she would say, "Yeah." So, as both of them would basically lock arms, both of them would basically start to leave, going into the, mansion. They would see a lot, and I mean a lot of familias there, including some others, like for example, the Loki familia with Loki, being a little bit, let's just say a little bit too close with, eyes. And when she saw, Belle, she would say, "God, great, it's Belle." She would basically say, "Maybe I should try and get him." To my familia, she would basically think, "Yeah, after all, Miss Shortstack certainly is not the type of person that he would like." She would basically start thinking in her mind, basically, a bit of copium in her system right now. So, as she's basically thinking of this, some other familia, some other gods were also looking at Belle, thinking, maybe we should try to steal him away, or in other cases, like, maybe I should try and get him for myself. Some girls are basically thinking, and some guys are going like, "Oh, great." One of them is basically saying out loud. So, as all of them would notice that, instead of holding on to, Hestia's hand, instead it sufficed this, as all of them would say, "Wait, did he decide to join like Aphysis Familia, or the Aphysis Familia?" As all of them were basically thinking, as one of them would say this, "Maybe they're dating." As one would say this, "Don't tell me that they're actually dating. I mean, I certainly saw them do a lot of things together." One of them would say, as one of them would say this, "Don't tell me that they're, that means they're," as all of them would basically start looking at Belle and Aphysis, as some of the girls were currently crying, think of this, knowing that, Belle is now taken. Yeah, unfortunately, girls, your boy Belle is currently going with the goddess. Oh, god damn it. So, as Belle and Aphysis are basically moving around the place, they would basically, arrive back, where their familia members, and also, Vida, Hestia, and Lily are, as they would basically start chatting, seeing the area, or at least, the ballroom, seeing that it's actually pretty nice, and a few people were basically having a bit of fun. Belle would basically start eating some, snacks laid down for them, as Belle was basically chowing them down, thinking, "Yeah, but it's not really as good as my food," he would basically start to think. And I don't mean that he literally is able to cook. I mean, he's somewhat able to cook, but, he's too lazy to do that. So, he mostly uses Gate of Babylon to start, to just make some of the stuff. As in, just like, yeah, here's a turducken or something. So, as Belle was basically thinking of this, they would hear a loud door sound, as all of them would look over and see Apollo in his great glory, as he would say this. "Ah, fellow gods and goddesses, it's been a while. I, Apollo, has welcomed you to my humble abode." He would basically bow down, as some of his familiar members would basically appear, as they would basically start, talking. Basically, telling that how they're going to be, enjoying themselves and having a lot of fun. As Apollo would basically look towards Belle, as he would say, "Ah, and you must be Belle Cornell, the guest of honor." As Belle would say this, "Wait, me?" As he would say this, "Yes, after all, you're quite the powerful being yourself." maybe in equal power to some of us gods. But either way, you're quite powerful for a boy like your age. As Belle would say this. Well, I mean, makes sense. Actually, it doesn't really make sense. As you'd say, yes. But I also wanted to tell you this. As he would basically, basically hands out his hand, as you'd say, I want you to join my familia. Instead of that pathetic little Hestia familia of yours, he would basically say. As all of them were dumbstruck, some of the gods were basically fuming at this, including Hestia and also, Aphysis, as Belle would say this. Well, sorry, I'm pretty much going with, Hestia for obvious reasons. One, because, I think she's quite nice, and second of all, I'm not really interested. As he would say this. Oh, really? Why not join me, and you'll get any girl that you want? I mean, I saw you with so many girls, like, for example, that Lily girl and that, the other one. She would be, like, he would basically say offhandedly, as you would say, you mean Aphysis? As he would say this. Ah, yes, my other fellow goddess. And, by the way, you can get whatever girl you want in my familia. You just need to join my familia, and as Belle would say this, no need, I already have a girlfriend. As after hearing this, he would say, I see, as all of the girls were saying, no! I mean, all of them are basically like crying, except for, a certain few, like for example, what's her face? Yeah, Eyes, and also, Rivia, which she's also at the party, which, after hearing that Belle is already taken, she would think, makes sense, she would basically say to herself. She's currently still thinking, yeah, she should try and find somebody already. Oh, god damn it. So, as after hearing this, you would say, ah, I see. But, you can also gain great riches, and as Bo would say this, oh, don't need, I already have a lot of money after all. You would basically, show off some of the, money that you've gotten, specifically a ton of fucking phallus, which some of the people there would basically start to, try and grab it, but thankfully the gated Babylon style, ability of his would basically just, like, suck it up like a, like a goddamn Hoover. And if you don't know what's a Hoover, well, it's basically a vacuum cleaner. Don't ask why I call it a Hoover. I mean, actually, yeah, it's because of, Jacksepticeye, because he's European, he calls it, a Hoover instead of a vacuum cleaner, because, Irish / English people. So, after a while, basically, a bit of talking and also, Apollo trying to convince him, he would say, sorry, but I'm not really interested, he would basically say, as Apollo would say this. I see. How about this? As he would basically, grab his, his glove from his hand, as he would basically throw it towards Hestia, causing her to get slapped a little bit. As he would say this, I will start a little war with you. A war. Or specifically, a war game. He would basically say with a, a demanding tone, as everybody was just like in shock. As Izuku would say this. Not Izuku, I meant as Belle would say this. Really? A war game? As he would say this. Yes, I want you to fight me, and also with the rest of my familia. If you lose, you have to join me, including your other friends. And Hessie has to work alone and probably go back to being just a worthless little piece of shit. Or, if you lose, you get whatever, anything that I released. He would basically say that, that he'll get anything if he loses. Like anything from his, stash or something. Like, for example, his house. Or, let's just say, not being allowed going back into the human world and probably, never being allowed to create a familia ever again, and also his familia being destroyed. Something of that sort. Anyway, so, as after, Belle hears this, he would say, fine then, but how about we make a little bit of a bet first? As you'd say, oh really? As you'd say, yeah. How about if you lose, Hyacinthus will, and also the people that almost tried to, almost tried to hurt me and my friends, will have to get punished. Severely. And let's just say, how about, oh, I don't know. As you would basically start to think, as you would say, ah, yes. As you would basically start grabbing something from his gate of Babylon style portal, which everybody was a bit shocked at. I mean, some people, like for say, some minor gods, and also, some other familiar members that didn't know about this, as you would basically say this. He has to fight something that I prefer to call the Empress of Light. As, after hearing this, you would say, Empress of Light, you say? Deal then. So, after hearing this, both of them would basically start to shake hands, as you would say, you will have a week until a week to prepare for the war game. So be prepared, Bell Cornell, and the rest of your familia. As Bell would say this, oh, I'm sure that we're gonna win. He would basically say, as you would say, how cocky, even though you don't really have enough numbers to basically defeat me. As Bell would say this, it doesn't matter if you have numbers or power. I'm still going to win either way. He would basically say, as you'd say, I see. I can't wait to finally make you one of my allies, or should I say, my familiar members, as both of them would start to feel like immense pressure is basically, coming off of them. Some of the other gods are basically like, oh god, Apollo's definitely gonna get beaten to the fucking ground. So, yeah. So, as the party ends, all of them would basically start to leave, as, Belle would basically say this. Alright guys, we're going to be preparing for the war game, so I'm going to be training all of you guys, got it? As, both of them specifically, Vita and also, wait for a second, and also Lily would basically agree, as all three of them would basically, put their hands together, as they would say, got it, team? As all of them would basically agree, as they would basically raise their hands up, as they would say, go, Team Hestia, as all of them would basically scream that out, or, Familia, or Hestia Familia would basically just say, as Hestia is basically there, basically just smiling. And so, as all of them are basically changing into their, pajamas, all of them would fall to sleep. So yeah, so, this is going to be the end of this episode. And so, I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!